once again, if you have not caught up with the rest of the chapters, you can certainly do that if you'd like. This is going to be chapter 3, and it's entitled 6 o'clock. So if you haven't seen the other chapters, definitely check them out if you like. If not, feel free to stick around. You probably won't be too lost if you're just picking it up here. But I would recommend you check out the other ones. And if you like the story, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. This is a story that I've written, and again, I'm still working on it, so any feedback would be great. So with that, we will go into it. Again, this is chapter 3, and it is called 6 o'clock. Arriving to the last wooden step, another rock wall appeared before the traveler. This one was considerably higher than the last, but it was not nearly as steep. The rocks were laid out well enough that the man could walk up them without the use of his hands. He was careful not to slip, but it wasn't a particularly difficult climb. Using his stick to balance himself, he began to walk up the rocks, taking small steps. He noticed some tiny blueberry plants sprouting up between the cracks of the boulders. The man bent down on one knee and picked up a couple, eating them one by one. They were small and bitter, but had a sweet aftertaste. He was certain that they were blueberries despite his natural hesitation to Google deadly berries on his phone. Standing back up, he popped another into his mouth and looked up at the sky. It was a bright blue now, with small wispy clouds scattered around. The birds were singing their morning songs, and a light breeze was beginning to rustle the trees. The man could hear the wind coming a few seconds before it arrived, swaying the branches very slightly. He closed his eyes as he felt the air go by him. Taking a deep breath, he kept moving upwards, going left to right as he searched for the right step to take on each rock. Some of them were covered in moss, but his well-treaded sneakers stuck well enough to get a decent grip. Moving along, his legs took longer lunges up the loosely scattered rockway. As the man got further up, he once again threw his walking stick over the top with the flick of his forearm. He heard it hit the ground with a clack, and rolled down a decline in the pathway. Leaning forward, he braced his body with his arms, and crawled up the final stretch of rocks. There were large slabs that had been firmly stuck in the dirt for a long time, but there were also loose rocks that moved up when the man had grabbed them. If he wasn't careful, he knew that one of them might slip under his feet and roll away. Trying to keep a sturdy footing, the man saw the dirt trail and stepped onto the last stone. He looked around and stood in the path while his eyes adjusted to the glimmering trees. Looking overhead, he scanned the canopy and noticed the array of colors. The breeze was rustling the leaves together in a mobile mosaic of greenery. Each tree was keeping cozy and brushing up against its neighbors. Thinking back to his tossed stick, he looked to the dirt and wondered where it had rolled to. There were roots covering the ground and lots of small hiding places for it to be under. For 10 minutes he walked in circles within a small radius from where he had climbed up the stairway. Large boulders protruded out from the sides of the trail, and there were crevices where it might have been hiding. The traveler went to each one and stuck his arm inside to see if it could be retrieved, but he did not find it. He began to consider grabbing a new stick and continuing on, but his stubborn attitude kept himself pacing around the area. He did not want to finish the hike with any other stick besides the one he had chose. He insisted on finding it before moving forward. Looking farther down the path, he began to doubt that the stick could have made it as far as he was walking. He retraced his steps and then retraced them again, before going even farther down the trail. Over and over he went back and forth, each time getting farther away from the rock wall. He stroked his chin in confusion and continuously touched his hair with his hands. He searched for 10 more minutes, looking in every crevice, a second time, and going far up the trail to see if it had taken an unlikely tumble down the side of the mountain. He was losing hope now, and considering giving in and finding a backup stick. One more time he walked down the trail, and rounded a corner where he eventually found a darker passageway which veered off of the main trail. He looked down the narrow path and saw that it was unmaintained and without trail markers. In a quick decision, he began to follow his feet and started to walk down the overgrown pathway, intending to explore it for just a few minutes. He was having trouble seeing the dense undergrowth that was covering the path. There was no chance that the stick had made it this far, especially since he had just rounded the corner. The traveler was about to turn around when he looked down the claustrophobic pathway and saw a small object in the distance. It was a brown blob in his eyes, but he could tell it was a building of some kind. He walked slowly down the narrowing trail and lowered his eyebrows in a worried and judgmental fashion. There was a small dim light coming from an opening in the front, and there was smoke billowing out of the top. Getting closer, he saw a glowing light was coming from a tiny doorway. His eyes squinted even more as he tried to distinguish more features of the building. He could see dark brown logs that made up the exterior walls, and there was a small chimney which was puffing out thick gray smoke that was fleeing into the morning sky. It was a cabin. I'd like to thank you guys once again for checking out my video. Again, this has been Chapter 3 of The Walk. And once again, if you haven't seen the other parts and you like this chapter, I would recommend you check out those. Let me know what you think about the story. If you have any predictions for what's coming up, that'd be great. I know this was a really, really short chapter, so if you are trying to listen to this for purely an ASMR experience, you may want to check out a couple of the other videos first, just to have a little bit longer time. I know when I'm listening to ASMR and I'm trying to fall asleep, I like to listen to longer videos because it gives me time to kind of rest and relax, and then I can fall asleep eventually. So that might be good if you're looking for just the ASMR experience. But if you are enjoying it, if you like this chapter, I would love to hear your comments about it. And again, we're at a point in the story where the traveler has come upon a cabin, so if you have any predictions about what might happen next, I would love to hear about it. And that is it, so I thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.